what you'll find is that people have an awful lot of criticism for you, but very little advice on moving in a positive direction. They'll have plenty of destructive tendencies, and all you have to do is observe people's behavior to actually realize this, that most people choose war over peace. It's said that Mother Teresa, we look at these figures now and I think we realize that they're not always the saintly people they're painted to be, but they Mother Teresa said that she would never go on an anti-war march. She would only ever go on a peace march, and there's a lesson in there. But there are plenty of warmongers that we're exposed to all the time, and it's to get people riled up and get emotionally invested on one side of things. But you only have to be able to progress beyond the age of about 6, 7 or 8, maybe even younger, to have a moral sense that these things are wrong. We know that they're wrong. We know that war is wrong. We know it's a business. We know it's an industry. We know it's a total racket, but we're forced to pay for it with our taxes. And they say that taxes are the price you pay to live in a civilized society. I mean, obviously we all know that that's bullshit by now, and if you don't, well, you haven't really woken up yet. And truth is that when I observe most people, whatever their age, I see that most people haven't progressed beyond the age of sort of their teens, really, at best. And I used to kind of see this in a little bit more of a black and white way, but what I'm actually realizing now is that all of the ages that you've been, I'm 44 next month, but all the ages that you've been, you never stop being those ages. I don't think we actually ever fully grow up. We're such a complex and complicated system of quite often contradictory beliefs and leanings and desires, and the whole of life is actually trying to balance these things out, which is not easy. But if you can acknowledge, even just acknowledge that that's the spiritual and moral quest that we're all on, and everybody will have different answers for you, but for me the most important answers are peaceful ones. I want to live a life of great abundance and peace, where I'm actually of genuine use to people. I want other people to experience the great joys and beauties of the world, of nature, of human connection. But believe me, one could say that I fail often on these fronts, because I'm certainly also realizing that with age comes increased intolerance and increased impatience, because you know, we figure out what it is that we want, and we don't want any bullshit, frankly, to get in the way of that. And some people might call that spoilt, but I prefer to see it in a more principled way, that there are certain behaviours that I simply won't put up with now that I'm older, and that I don't want to waste any time or energy on things that are destructive to me. I've done a lot of things that have been destructive to me out of a hyper sense of understanding and explaining away the behaviours of some people. But you do have to just say no at a certain point. And frankly, the earlier that you can do that in a principled way is great. The sooner the better, you know. Don't waste time. And what I mean by don't waste time is value yourself more. This is my real raison d'etre for life. A solid sense of being, kind and understanding, but also very boundaried, which is why in times of stress and trauma, the child in you can lash out, but the child in you also needs to be remembered. You know, this is going to sound flimsy or maybe woo-woo to some people, I don't know, but I look at the people who are destructive towards themselves, and I read about them, and I listen when I'm watching podcasts, and the people that are constantly beating themselves up, well, they don't meet happy ends, they have miserable lives, and I think that's a waste. I really do. I think it's a waste of the potential of what can actually be a really great life. So when I talk, and I've been talking about it quite a lot recently, when I talk about integration, I'm talking about all of the parts of you that never vanish. You are the 6-month-old crying out for food, you are the 3-year-old, you are the 10-year-old, you are the teenager who wants to individuate himself, you are the adolescent that wants to fuck like a rabbit all around. We have all of the same instincts. They don't vanish, but learning to channel them into something really positive can be really, really life-changing. But you have to be willing to admit that there are parts of you that want to overwhelm all of the others, and that's what being an adult is about. And I think actually acknowledging that you have instincts in particular directions, I think that actually helps to quelling them, because denial will only ever push things down. And you see that in a lot of people, very strong rhetoric that people use when they get into discussions, conversations, arguments, blah 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 blah, debates. You see the neglected child come out in a lot of people's behaviour, because everybody wants their version of the world to be right, and of course it's not possible. So you don't have to be a doormat, but you don't also have to be a person that just argues for the sake of it. And that's what most online debate is about, and it's why I'm selective in who I watch, because they have a firm grasp of reality and see things in a more honest way. And that's what I try and do in all of my videos and writing, is to show you that A, I am human, but B, I am very much a deep thinker, which can get you into trouble sometimes with people who don't want to question the status quo because it benefits them in some way. But remember all the different parts of you, and make sure that you're not neglecting those parts of you, that you acknowledge them, because they are all part of your history, all part of who you are. And you can find great peace in just admitting that. Have a great day, my friends.